So our pose of the week is reclined hand to big toe pose, Supta Padangusasana. And this is such a great pose because you can use it for a number of different things. You could use it as a cool down pose at the end. You could use it in a yin style class. You could even add it to like a moving flow as like an active rest. So we'll go through some of the different transitions you can do for this pose and just see which ones will work best for your students, for your target audience, and have some fun with them. We've had a few comments come in for the pose, so I'm going to start going through those transitions. Shafali, Barbara, and Eve had some pretty awesome transitions here. Shafali's is pretty long, so let me see if I can remember this one. All right, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Thumbs up if you can. Otherwise, I'll just assume that you can. So let's come to my mat. And Shafali said from here to go to legs at a 90-degree bend, roll back to plow pose, and then bend knees towards ear for ear pressure pose. Oh. My leg is so light. Straighten your legs. Come back, roll forward. She actually said to come to a seated forward fold. And you could do a number of things as you roll up, maybe even like hold a boat pose, come to a seated forward fold. And then she said, roll back, legs at a 90-degree bend, or legs, 90 degrees. And then to come to a reclined twist with legs extended, just like this. And then to take a cat's tail pose. So bend bottom leg, maybe hand comes to foot. You could use your hand around your outer thigh and twist here. Oh, that feels really nice. And then maybe come back to legs extended, bring legs up to the sky, and then move into the other side. So then we do the left side here, legs come up, roll back to plow, ear pressure pose, and then maybe roll forward. You could even stop at a boat, come down to seated forward fold, and then roll back, come to a reclined twist with legs extended, and then take the cat's tail here. So, oh, that feels really nice. What a great sequence. So many good poses that just flow nicely together, and you don't even have to really sit up or stand up. You can just stay on your back the whole time. So that was really nice. Thank you, Shafali, for those transitions. I really liked them. All right. So Barbara, I think she had talked about some modifications with love using a strap. I teach mostly students with limitations and for myself as well, but they are seeing progress. So where is my strap? Let me grab my strap here. Looks like my husband used it around his mat. All right, so we can demonstrate with a strap for those of you who may have not used a strap for this pose. So I have my strap here. So if your strap allows you to make a little loop, then you just make a loop and place it around your foot, and then you can pull here, and then just keep walking your hands up and pull your thigh closer to your belly. If you don't have a strap that loops, you could always just wrap it around your foot, and you could even twist it so that you've got a little better grip, and then pull down. So great way to utilize a prop for this pose. And so I'm going to sit up here. So thank you, Barbara, for sharing how to use a strap for reclined hand to big toe. And then Eve had a good strengthening one. So let go of toes, curl head off mat, bring arms along thighs, and slow scissor legs ×8 is a great core strengthener. And yes, I would absolutely agree. So if you're here, I'll start with the other leg. You're here in this pose, you could release, lift your head up, maybe even lift your shoulder blades up, arms by side, and then do some scissors, just like this. And she mentioned 8, so after 8, you come to the other side, and maybe this is your active rest, and then you come here and hold, and then you can come back to scissors, as Eve mentioned. Take some scissors here, and then maybe, Eve, just to even add on to your nice transitions, when you come back, maybe just open to the side, take another active rest, and then you can come here, lift up. So just depending on how much strength you want to add to your class, and then, take it on the other side, open to the side, come back, take one final round of scissors. So that is really awesome. That's a great way to add some strength to your classes, to build some heat in the core. So I love that, love that, love that, love that. So awesome, awesome transitions, Shefali, Barbara, and Eve. Thank you so much for sharing those. Now I have some transitions that I wrote down here. Some of them are pretty, I guess, advanced, and then some of them are really good, accessible transitions for everyone. So I'll start, I just kind of jotted down a bunch of ideas so I wouldn't forget them. So I'll just start with my random thoughts, if that's okay with you. All right, my first one was a split roll. So you kind of have to be off to the side on your mat, but let's say you're in Hanumasana, full splits, monkey pose. You're here, you could maybe lower your chest down and then roll to your back and come into reclined hand to big toe. And then from here, you could even like roll back again. I was trying to do this earlier and I was struggling. So, and then come back, or maybe even just roll the other way, depending on where you are in your class. And you could also take this from pigeon. So I'll demonstrate on the other side here. So let's say you're in pigeon pose and maybe you thread needle. Oh, I guess I'm gonna roll that way. Let me just move over a little here. So if you're here and like thread the needle with your pigeon pose, you could just roll onto your back, peace fingers, big toe, and you're here in the reclined hand to big toe pose. And then you could release. You might have to like scoot back on your mat. And then as Shefali said, you could come into a plow pose. Maybe from plow, you even come up into a yogi squat. So if you're wanting to then move into some standing poses, yogi squat's kind of nice, or you could move into a number of different things, come all the way up to standing. Okay, and then plow roll. So Shefali had mentioned that one. And then pistol squat. So this is, again, it might be a little bit of a challenging transition, but one way you could do it is, you know, just to have your foot on the ground. So let's say you're maybe even just like in a squat. Here for your students, you could come from a squat, lower sit bones down, lift one leg up, and you could take a modified hand to big toe pose and then start to straighten through the legs. So those are some variations you could walk through. And then maybe sit back up, come to this pose, maybe even take knees wide, close eyes, you know, challenge your balance, bring knees back together, roll back, take the same thing on the other side here, and then plant your foot, and then maybe roll back up and move into some other poses. Now, more challenging variation of that is, like I had started, you know, have your legs straight, or maybe even lift your foot up, and then take peace fingers to big toe, and then you could roll back, holding onto your big toe, and come into the pose, plant your foot, and then really challenge yourself again to roll back and come into your pistol squat here. And then you could just switch out the legs or add it to a sequence that you may have for your students. So you're here in pistol squat, lower down, all the way to the earth, come into the pose. This could be a nice active rest if you're doing like a pretty challenging sequence or a very flowy sequence, and then roll back and come here to your pistol squat again. Okay, so let's see, what else did I have? Core strength. Oh, so Eve had, you know, a really good transition with going here to scissors. And one of the things I'll do at the beginning of a class if I'm doing core strength is I'll have them start lying flat to the earth, then bring one knee in and, you know, just take a moment to lubricate your hip joint with some movement here. And then I'll have students come to a long stretch, take the other side, same thing, some movement here, and come back to a long stretch, and then come back to this side, and then start to straighten through your leg, come back to a long stretch, same thing, opposite side, and then I start to add some core strength. So rather than just coming back to a long stretch, I'll encourage them to float their feet, and then bring one knee in, come back, bring the other knee in, come back, and then the option to straighten through the leg, maybe lift your shoulder blades up, take this, and then start to go into some fast movement with bent or straight legs. So it's just very progressive, especially at the beginning of a class when you're trying to, you know, get students warm. That could be a great way to do that if you're incorporating some core exercises. Reclined twist. Shefali had a reclined twist in her sequence when we were here, and then with straight legs to lower. And just to add on to that, so let's say you're here in this pose, you could switch hands, opposite hand, and then use your hand to facilitate the twist over, and then come back to center, maybe open to the side, and come back to center, release, same thing. Left side here, opposite hand comes up to hold onto the foot and move into the twist. And then you could come back to center, switch, open to the side, and come back to center. So that could be a great combination you do maybe as a cool down, or even if you're just opening up your class. And then bridge pose. So if you're maybe teaching a yin class, or maybe even as a cool down or a warm up, you're here, rather than just moving right to the other side, you could release, come into a bridge pose, hold here for some time, because you're really activating the muscles that you're stretching in the reclined hand to big toe pose. So then you could come to the other side and release, and then come back to a bridge pose. So just a nice way to break up the sides by doing an active pose in between. All right, and then the last one I had, I actually can't do because of my neck, but this is very common in the Ashtanga primary series. When you're here, is you roll back to plow, and then you actually just chakrasana out, where you do a back roll. And then you're, once you're in the back roll, you come to here, and then you could even do like some crocodiles up, and then you come to your floor vinyasa, and then you hop through, take the same thing on the other side, and then roll back to your backward somersault. So I won't be demonstrating that today, but it is a transition that you could potentially try with your students if it's okay on their necks. All right, so I know that was a lot of transitions we went through. I'll just recap what they were. The first one we did was a splits roll. So coming from a full splits, roll to your back, hand to big toe. We also demonstrated from pigeon and demonstrated from a plow roll. We did the pistol squat here to go back. We went through some core strength transitions. We went through a reclined twist as a transition. We talked about bridge pose in between each side, and we talked about the chakrasana, the back somersault, to then take a floor vinyasa into the other side. And there's one I missed. So on my Instagram account, I posted a sequence where I had gone from a camel pose and roll down, and I took a thread the needle here, extended one leg out, and then I just kind of scooted my knee over and rolled to my back and took this pose here, and then I did a plow and actually came all the way up into a half moon. So that's another transition you can do. If you head over to my Instagram account, you can see the full sequence there. So I hope you have enjoyed these transitions. If there are any others that you've thought of after watching this video, just go ahead and add them below so that others can see and get some other ideas and inspiration for doing transitions with reclined hand to big toe pose. Let me just take a peek and see if there are any comments that came in. Always so helpful, thank you. Oh, sure thing, Brandy. Thanks for joining today. And if I can be of any service to you, please just let me know. Feel free to send me a message or add any comments to this thread. I hope you have a wonderful day. Enjoy your holiday weekend coming up for those of you in the US, and I'll see you soon. Love and light.